Welcome back to Success with Steven. My name is Steven Smith. On this channel, we discuss all things financial literacy. And today we're going to discuss how you can maximize your business funding with a brand new LLC. And this is going to be the list of top NAICS codes for 2025, also known as NAICS codes. Choosing the right code can significantly impact your business and the ability to secure funding, as lenders and government agencies use these codes to assess your risk and your eligibility for loans, grants, and contracts. Now, for clarity, you should use the NAICS code or the SIC code that represents your business and your main source of revenue for your business. With that said, if your goal is to build business credit and you have multiple businesses, you may want to choose to focus on one business for your credit building efforts. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. If you filled out a business application for small business loans or financing, you may have been asked to provide information about the industry your business operates in, or even to list your SIC code or your NAICS code, also known as a NAICS code, and you may have wondered why this information is requested by lenders or how it would affect whether or not your application is approved. When a financial institution determines whether or not they should lend money to a business, it comes down to one simple thing. They want to make money off of interest. So if I wanted to make money off a business by loaning money, I need to ensure that I will actually get paid back. This is why personal guarantees from the business owners are requested. A lender needs to evaluate your willingness to pay, which is based on your personal credit, and your ability to pay, which is based on your stated income or financial reviews like bank statements, tax returns, paycheck stubs, etc. Things like that. Before a lender can even determine the likelihood of you paying them back or your ability to manage debt, the first thing they will check is your business industry. Now, this will determine if your business is high risk, and if you're someone that they would want to lend money to, or if you're a low-risk business owner and they would like to lend you money. NAICS is an abbreviation for the North American Industry Classification System. It's a numerical system that's developed to track economic activity in North America, and it replaced the old standard industrial code, the SIC or the SIC code system, in 1997. These codes were essential for government reporting, marketing research, and economic analysis, and the NAICS NAICS code is crucial for businesses in identifying their sector, especially when starting up or filling out government documents. Business owners can find their specific NAICS or their NAICS code through the official website, and that's www.naics.com/search. NAICS codes are also helpful if your business plans to pursue government contracting and to compete for federal contracts. Your business must register at SAM.gov. Among other requirements such as size standards, you will match your products and services to an NAICS code or NAICS code at usaspending.gov. There, you can see how much the U.S. government has spent on a particular NAICS code, among other things and other analytics and statistics. But the IRS also will request your NAICS code on certain forms. You can find out the list of industry codes by using that website. Now, there isn't a limit to the number of these codes that a business can have, but while a business may have multiple codes, it's common to have a primary code for statistical reporting. That's the reason why you should use the NAICS code for the industry that best represents your main source of revenue. The SBA notes that you can have a primary NAICS code and a secondary NAICS code, but in practical terms, it's not typical for loan applications to offer the ability to share more than one industry code. There's a comprehensive guide to NAICS codes that was published by the U.S. Census Bureau. It's a federal government agency, and you can download the most recent version in the description. The link is below, or you can also use the search tool from the website that's also in the description. However, the government does not assign a NAICS code when you start a business, so you'll want to identify the one that is best matched for your type of business. NAICS codes categorize businesses based on their main economic activity using a hierarchy code structure, starting with broad sectors indicated by the first two digits, and then it gets more specific with each additional one, detailing subsectors, industry groups, and individual industries. So next, we'll be looking at an example of how you can actually break down these codes. So for example, we're looking at restaurants. Now, if you look for the first two numbers that represent the broadest level of classification, identifying the major economic sector, our example is 72 for accommodation and food services. Next, we have to look at the subsector. That's the third number. That's going to divide this into a subsector that shares a similar economic characteristic. So 721 focuses on establishments primarily engaged in providing lodging services. After that, we have industry groups. That's the fourth number that identifies a specific industry group within the subsector. 7211. This industry group comprises establishments primarily engaged in providing short-term lodging in facilities such as hotels, motels, casino hotels, and bed and breakfast inns. The fifth number distinguishes individual industries within the industry group in our example. And as you see, the last number is for the national industry. In some cases, a sixth number may be added to provide additional specifics at the national level when it's applicable. NAICS codes aren't perfect. For example, there's no NAICS code for many types of jobs in the creator economy, such as like YouTube or social media. And you'll need to choose the most closely represented NAICS code for your main type of business activity. Underwriters normally break down NAICS codes into these four categories. You have preferred industries, normal risk industries, high risk industries, and there's also prohibited industries that will not be allowed to receive funding. You'll also want to keep in mind that even businesses in what may be considered a low risk NAICS code, those categories may face hurdles in getting certain types of funding. Some lenders, especially traditional lenders like banks, may only be able to lend a certain total amount within a particular industry. Otherwise, they may become oversaturated in one particular industry. And if that industry faces severe financial challenges, that financial institution could face significant losses from that oversaturation. So even if the bank generally likes to lend to a particular industry, let's say healthcare, for example, if you've already reached their lending threshold for that industry, your loan application could get rejected, even though you actually meet the other approval criteria. And remember, the top factors for many small business lenders is really going to be your credit score, your revenue and your income, and your time in business. Now, lenders prefer to lend in the certain industries, but not others. And as we know, NAICS codes are one way of identifying those industries to determine which one they will lend to. Now, almost every lender will have its own list of industries to which they prefer to lend and the ones to which they will not lend. We just went over that, the prohibited and then the industries that they would like the preferred. Lenders may or may not actually disclose this information. Every lender is different. No matter what anyone tells you, there is not one particular code that everyone will just lend to. Every lender is different. But there are a lot of industries that are frequently on the high risk business list. And these are the ones: adult entertainment, ammunition and firearms, auto dealers, bail bonds, bowling alleys, cannabis, casino collection agencies, credit counseling services, dance studios, direct marketing, gas stations, general contracting, gyms, hotels, motels, law firms, lending businesses, nightclubs, real estate agents, real estate investors, restaurants, theaters, travel agencies, and trucking. Now, these are all businesses that we see every day. Does that mean that these businesses don't get money? They don't get lending? Obviously not. We see gyms all the time. You see plenty of bowling alleys still, usually inside of a casino, which can also be one, but it depends on who is backing that particular business. Okay. So I just want to make it a point that even though these are high risk industries, that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't get funding. Really, it'll come down to, like, again, who's backing this business? How much revenue are they generating? How much money are they making? Can we profit off of them? So for a small business, yes, maybe, but the bigger your business gets, the less likely that they're going to actually care about how high risk it is, as long as you are able to produce revenue and they can make money off the interest from what they let you borrow. So again, take this with a grain of salt, because I can guarantee that there's these businesses that you've seen, you've gone to, you've used them in some way, form, or fashion. They exist, they're getting funding, but for small business purposes, for an individual, for a single member LLC, for a corporation with only 2 or 3 employees, yeah, it's not going to really cut it. All All right. Next, let's talk about low risk NAICS codes. Now, there is no single NAICS code that's best for any business, and you should choose the one that best fits your business type and your operations. However, I'm going to show you how I personally find low risk NAICS codes so you can do the exact same thing. Now, right now, I'm showing you guys the top NAICS codes, a guide for small, minority owned and women owned businesses. Now, this is a very, very old PDF that's from 2014, I believe. I think I've known about this since around like 2022, but I heard about it and I've been using this to find low risk NAICS codes for a while now. And why this is really helpful information is because it's actually focusing on small businesses and minorities in order to get business funding. And a lot of this stuff doesn't really change that often. Like, for example, the SIC codes still get talked about, but they were supposed to be pushing those out since 1997, yet we still have them. So when it comes to funding, things move very, very slow when it comes to change. I say all that to say that this information, even though it was published in 2014, is still relevant in 2025. If we scroll down, we can actually see some NAICS codes that are major. So we have other computer related services, 541519, computer systems and design, wired telecommunications, software publishing. There's janitorial services. There's computer training. There is security system services. As you can see, a lot of these really do have to do with technology. There's also one that I see a lot, general warehouse and storage. You'll probably see this one very, very often. So there's commercial printing, data processing, just a lot of things that you'll know are very, very low risk. As you can see, again, general warehouse and storage. And again, I would take all of these with a grain of salt because, again, it depends on who the lender is. It may get scrutinized, but as a rule of thumb, I pick the ones that I see on multiple lists. For example, I see this one so many times. All other professional, scientific, and technological services. I think this is the NAICS code that I use personally the most because whenever I start a new business, it's usually in media, it's usually in internet publishing. It's something that's related to what I actually do. So a lot of times I use this one, 541990. That is a good one. All other information services is also a pretty good one. You guys can just actually, I'm going to link this down in the description. My recommendation is for you to go through this list, check out what they have, and just look at a lot of these codes. This is also a website that I use a lot. I'm going to link it in the description, but it is Fedmine. So it's really, really cool. They collect data on a daily basis showing you today's top NAICS codes, but they categorize this by government funding. So these are the top industry codes that are being funded by the government today. And you can see year to date for sector in today's date when this was posted. So if you guys scroll right over here, you'll see some of the same ones that we saw before. Other computer related services. Let's see if we can see any familiar ones that we were. Oh, office supplies. That's always a big one. You guys will notice that when the government comes to funding, notice everything next to it says manufacturing. They're into manufacturing and services. Services, manufacturing. Service, manufacturing. Manufacturing, manufacturing, manufacturing. You'll see this a lot. Software publishing, that's a little bit different. But if you guys scroll, you will end up seeing a lot of the exact same things. So if you wanted to pick, like, let's say, for example, you have a business or you're looking for a business in one of these industries, take off the manufacturing, and that's going to be a good one. I would even recommend cross-referencing this with the other PDF that we just looked at, but this website is very, very good, and this information to me is just absolute gold. Software publishers, like, again, we're seeing this one. That should let you know already. Software is very, very big. Stationery, office supplies, we saw that. We saw paper, we saw printing. Professional and management development training. We saw this one. Oh, here's another one, that same one. Other warehouse and storage. So warehouse and storage is a really, really big one. Oh, and this is one that you guys always like to see, 541690. Other scientific and technical consulting services. So There's still something similar with consulting, but it's going to be something scientific or something technical. Again, I hope that this gives you guys like an idea of what's going on, but take this with a grain of salt always. So let's see a different example, because this is government funding. So I'm sure there'll be something with ammunition. Oh, general freight and trucking. So you already saw on that restricted list, notice trucking was one where it wasn't getting funded. This should let you know something. You may not get funded with a traditional bank when it comes to trucking, but you may be able to secure a government contract or get money in some other way when it comes to that particular industry. That's the reason why it's really good to understand your industry and exactly what the sentiment is about what you're doing. Because again, even if you can't get it from a bank, you may get a grant, you may get a government contract. You guys just have to know more about your industry and do some research. And currently we are on NAICScodes.com/search. Once again, link is in the description. So when you guys actually come to the website, at least right now at the time of recording this video, they have the NAICS code drill down table. So you can click on any NAICS code to see the top business profiles within that industry. So notice professional, scientific, and technical services. If you click on that, it's going to actually show you some of the most popular codes in this particular industry. Now, if you look at the business counts, there are a lot right here: Office of Notaries, other legal, office and certified public accountants, tax preparation services, payroll services. All of these things are here. And if you click on, like, let's say graphic design, when you click on it, it'll show you the top companies in this service. The reason why this is very, very important is because if you want to understand how much funding your business will get, you need to know other companies in your industry and how much money they make. So when you're able to actually say, my business can project to make this much money every single year, you can actually cross-reference that by looking at what the top companies make, and then getting an idea and gauging how much you should make maybe as an individual or a small business. This will also let you know if these are the top companies, more than likely these are the top funded. That just is a very simple conclusion that you can get to if you're looking at this list. And it's just so, it's so easy to find this stuff, guys. It takes very little research. It's not that difficult. And you can actually see like everything when it comes to manufacturing, when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to mining. The bigger the business, the more money that it makes. Educational services here, you can get an idea of which business type, which code. And then again, we know that now what this 2-number code is. And then we know that as we get more numbers, it breaks it down into subsectors and then industry groups. And they even have national. If it has 6 numbers, we get a better idea of what we're looking at. So again, guys, I just don't want to show you a list of codes and just say pick from this. I want you guys to understand how to find this information on your own without having to actually get it from anybody. You guys can do your research because industry sentiment will change. What was once a highly funded NAICS code will maybe get oversaturated and may not get funded anymore. That this is a ever-growing beast, and you guys need to know how to be able to actually find this information instead of just, asking or relying on old data. You can look at new data and you can actually see in real time what's the best NAICS code and where you should go to get the most funding. And the last thing I want to show you guys is that PDF from the census. If we scroll down, we can actually get a hard copy of every single code for which industry that you are in. I think it's just good to have this as a hard copy. And again, a link is in the description, but you guys should really understand everything that's going on within these particular industries. And if you just want to have this hard copy to get more information about this, it is available for you. All this information is free. It just takes a little bit of research, but as of 2022, it's the last time that this information was updated. So if you want to know more about subsectors, industry groups, NAICS codes with details, you can get this as a hard copy from this website and you can download it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really do hope that you appreciate this information. If you guys have any questions about how to find low risk codes, if you just want to get more details about maybe what you should look for, or if you're in a sector that may be considered high risk, if you want to know more about government funding, I can look into doing something with that. Just please let me know in the comments below. And if you already know exactly what your NAICS code is, you've done your research and you know some low risk codes, drop those in the comments. So that way, if people just want to scroll down and grab those, then they can. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and you guys have a wonderful day.